Step aside, Fox News. The Legos are running the propaganda show now. And spoiler, it ain't great. But fear not, playlisters. We're going to discuss how to talk about Iran's Lego propaganda machine. So pour a drink, because we're bringing you into our group chat about politics and the next generation of leaders in this country. This is Political Playlist Happy Hour. Welcome to Political Playlist.
All right, are we ready, guys?
Happy Hour.
Happy hour.
We fucked that up so bad.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Political Playlist Happy Hour. I'm Michael Kristoff.
Anna Muskie Goldwyn.
I'm Anthony Barquette.
Welcome back, Anthony Barquette.
Aw.
And we
He is
should
healed.
say
He is risen.
It was your back. It was your back, wasn't it?
Yeah. I'm very
Yeah.
Joe Biden-esque right now, but I did
tell
I-
us what happened.
I can't believe someone described that's the way I walk recently.
is
I was
great.
like, wow, that is
But it's a great
so
description.
bad.
I immediately have the visual.
Yes, no, it is.
I
It is
do
a great
too.
description. Yeah. The other funny thing was
Yeah.
everyone was like, whatever you do, don't get on a bike. Just don't get on a bike.
Oh my
right
God.
now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had back surgery, so
And
I'm-
you're walking
Oh,
like
he's
Joe
so
Biden. now.
strong.
I'm walking like Joe Biden. I got to
Yeah.
be careful for the
Okay.
next month, but I feel a lot.
Do you have
better.
like slip-on Skechers sneakers that you just slide right into, or what's the footwear? Talk to me about the footwear, because that I feel like as soon as do you have like post-op shoes? Because
No,
those are really
I
those are
shouldn't
really
really
something.
talk about my slip-ons, but they're
Okay.
Casa Cipriani slippers, and
Oh, hell yeah.
yeah,
Wait,
and then
that's
and
great.
then just like I just have like Allbirds slippers too.
Oh
So,
my
okay.
God. Oh, high low, you know.
Yeah,
Well, that is, I'm glad that everything went well, that you are in one piece. Let me tell you what's not in one piece. Guys, we are the longest shutdown of
Oh my
DHS
God.
in
Yeah.
history. That's still going on. Gas prices are at the highest they've been in 4 years. The
You don't
national
say.
average is over
Oh
$4.
my God, seriously.
And Marjorie Taylor Greene is now starting to peddle Trump assassination conspiracy theories, which is starting to gain traction in right-wing media.
My
But-
Lord.
Sister.
We are talking about Legos today,
Oh.
and specifically the Lego propaganda machine that is coming out of Iran right now.
Can I tell you guys
Um,
a quick Lego anecdote?
Yes.
We're not
So-
can't wait.
Billy is like super into F1, and he bought us Lego F1 cars to do as an activity. And
I have so many questions. Like, was this a surprise activity? Had you guys been looking for like a joint activity to do?
No.
Is this like, hey, we're really tired of game night. Let's do something different?
It was like a cute gift. Like Billy
Okay.
likes Red Bull and Max Verstappen, and I have no real interest in it other than I think Charles Leclerc, who drives for Ferrari, is very handsome.
Yeah.
And so that's how I've decided that I root for Ferrari. And so Billy just one day bought a Red Bull and a Ferrari car. And
That's great,
but
actually.
the funny part of the story, which I think will make you both laugh, is that I didn't like grow up doing Legos. And so I
was
doing-
obsessed.
yeah,
Still
I'm sure,
am.
like I
Yeah.
now I'm like I totally get it. And
Mhm.
but so we were doing it, and like I was like maybe 3/4 of the way through doing the car, and I got to a point where I was trying to attach this one piece, but every time I would attach it, like this other piece would fall off. And so I kept having to backtrack and like reattach this other piece and go back and forth and back and forth. And I literally started crying. And Billy was like, "You need to stop." And I was like, "I'm not going to stop until I get this next step on the thing." And I was getting lost in the directions trying to attach the other piece. And I had like a full on like emotional breakdown around this.
Yeah.
So anyway, Billy did make me step away from the Legos, but now the car is finished. So it all worked out.
I think we need to like Instagram a photo of this car.
I will. Okay, I will.
Great.
I wish,
Yeah.
I'll do the photo of the car. I wish I had a photo of me breaking down. Honestly, in retrospect, it was so funny and humiliating.
You know what would be so cool is if we could get our political playlist logo on like a car hood.
like at NASCAR.
Yeah, like on an F1 car, just like our P with the flag.
I bet we
would
could
be
get
really
a
sick.
Lego made out of it. I'm sure you can do custom Legos.
Yeah, you
That
can do
would be
custom
cool.
leg. We'll do
That'd
that.
be
We'll
cool.
do a Political Playlist race car.
Well, speaking of Legos,
yeah,
were you going to take that segue? Take that transition.
I was going to take
no,
that segue.
First day back. Let's jump out of the gates here.
I'm still on some narcotics. Okay.
Okay, great.
So if I stumble over words, you know why. But anyways, I actually did have a Lego experience as well. So it's kind of funny we're all having this. My nephew was in town and he made me do Legos with him. And I hadn't done it in quite some time. And it was actually quite enjoyable. Like it seems really hard, but I mean, he was showing me, which is very impressive. So speaking of just so much Legos in our life right now.
Mm-hmm.
And have you guys seen these AI Lego style videos that are tied to Iran right now? Like
it's pretty wild.
Alarming.
Okay.
Yeah, tell us like what's going on here.
Yeah, so I mean they're usually like 2 to 3 minutes, and it's these Legos, and they're basically depicting this whole story to a rap song, and they've depicted President Trump, Melania and the Epstein files, Erica Kirk, Charlie Kirk. We just had Kash Patel a couple days ago, and I'm not gonna lie, but like the lyrics and the rap are all pretty catchy and really spot on. So
God.
who's behind this though? Because everyone's saying they're tied to Iran, right? But there's a group who's producing them called Explosive Media. Also, such a ridiculous name for
I have some details on that in a second.
Yeah, for like a pro-Iranian digital media group, right? Explosive, but this is sort of becoming widely known as Slopaganda. So it's a term of like low cost AI generated political content. And
they're like diss videos. They're like basically making fun of the United States, making fun of Trump, bringing it.
Most recent one was making fun of Kash Patel drinking beer.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're like little Legos they look like they're like Legos. It's as if someone made a Lego movie, like Lego Batman, but
Iran
it's Kash Patel.
Iran is making a Lego movie of the United States, is what these are.
And there was one where it was like Trump being led around like a dog by Bibi Netanyahu with like a dog collar and like a leash. I mean, it's crazy shit.
Some BDSM Legos.
So you hit the nail on the head with all of those. Like those are all the messages that are being sent.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually around current events that are happening, and it's the next day one of these videos will come out. But it also is kind of like positioning Iran to like look resilient, calm, strategic, which I mean, frankly, it's all propaganda, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think such an interesting thing to discuss about this is, to me, like the barrier to entry for propaganda just completely collapsed, right? Like you don't need a studio anymore. You don't need a big budget. You just need an AI internet like story that goes viral.
You just need an idea.
And you just need an idea. And I think what is also so funny is Iran is using something the Trump administration has used to also, I think, win a lot of voters here in the US.
Remember when Trump did the AI video of the plane pouring poop?
Right.
Also AI slop.
So kind of funny to see that these videos are now like taking control of like, I would say are all over the media. YouTube actually just got rid of all of them, which I was surprised to see. Like, censored
YouTube
all of them, but they're still widely available on like Instagram, TikTok and other social media platforms.
Well, a little bit, you mentioned that it was being made by this company, Explosive. What is it called? Explosive Media?
So I was like, wow.
So the spokesperson of that company, who is named Mr. Explosive, did an anonymous one of those like anonymous kind of interviews with BBC. And he had initially denied any ties to the Iranian government, but then ultimately did say that the government is a, quote, customer of his company. So this is like a consultant, essentially, that the Iranian government is paying. And there was an interesting thing in this article from the BBC where they were talking about why Legos, and it was being used because it is a world language, which means
Mm.
that it's very accessible and globally very shareable. And so
Wow.
Iranian and
Good
Russian
point.
state media regularly amplify these Lego videos. And even though they're like completely, there's a lot of factual inaccuracies in them, there's no policing of what, has to be in them or doesn't have to be in them. Like there was one that falsely claimed that Iran captured the downed pilot of that US plane,
Right.
even though US officials then obviously confirmed that he had been rescued by US Special Forces. And one thing that I found really interesting in this article from the BBC was that it's targeting Western audiences. So AI tools are actually trained on Western data
Mm.
mostly. And so that allows Iran to create content that is culturally very relevant to Western cultures like the United States, Europe, etc. And it lets authoritarian regimes communicate with Western audiences in a very effective way. Because if they were to be creating some sort of propaganda within the Iranian media ecosystem, it wouldn't necessarily translate in like overall vibe for American audiences. But when we watch these videos, it immediately clicks with our cultural brains, which in itself is a pretty dangerous thing, like infiltration, essentially.
Right. I mean, Anthony, you mentioned this the rap song. It was to say nothing of like the message behind it. It was fucking catchy, and it
Yeah.
sounded like an AI version of Eminem. Like not nearly as good as
So
Eminem, but
crazy.
kind of had a vibe and was like, "Whoa, okay, this is saying some interesting stuff." That's so funny you say that these uh, a- AI machines are being trained on Western stuff because one of the things that struck me while watching this was just how spot on it was with like, oh, yeah, they're totally observing everything that's going
Mm.
on and kind of nailing it. I mean, there was MAGA stuff storming the Capitol. There was Cash Patel in the USA hockey jersey drinking at the Olympics.
Pile of
I mean, there
beers.
was
Yeah.
like there was just a lot of, Trump stuff and Charlie Kirk and uh just a lot going on in this on these Lego videos that was alarming from the standpoint of like, oh wow, is what's happening here so obvious to everyone else in the world and we're all just kind of mixed up in our own clouds about it, or what, like that that rattled me a little bit.
I think to that point, though, I mean, yes, I think people are paying attention. And I think that a lot of the times the United States is involved in things currently that are very easy to make fun of. But I also feel like to that point, when you look at these videos, to me, what the mere idea of them is saying is something that I think the administration, the American people are discovering, which is that the Iranian regime is much more resilient than at least the Trump administration thought it was going to be. I think that there was a bit of bravado after what happened with Maduro and Venezuela and being able to kind of get into that government and make nice with them over the oil trade. I think there was a sense, and Trump said so himself, that that kind of quote regime change was going to be as simple and swift just with the force of the military in Iran. And I think what we've seen is that even though there has been great success, as I've said many times, from the military, and I think that we do need to understand that our military is very good at what they do, that the strategic lack of planning or misunderstanding or what have you has exposed that the Iranian regime is not just an authoritarian regime that is funding terrorist cells, which it is, but it also is an incredibly functional and deep rooted system of government in this country that has a lot of power and a lot of resiliency, whether that resiliency be the fact that the son was immediately brought in to take over and the sort of leadership has been able to withstand a lot of these negotiating tactics that the Trump administration's kind of put on them. And at the same time, doing these incredibly unserious videos without any, repercussions really, and making fun of the United States. And those two things in tandem just show me as an American that like I think they were underestimated.
Well, yes,
Unfortunately.
it does. The reporting has been that Trump has been obsessed with and sort of myopically delusional in thinking they can do what they're calling a Delcy Rodriguez.
Mm,
Delcy Rodriguez was the vice president under Maduro. And basically, what's happening now in Venezuela is that she, at the behest and the ordering of the US government, is basically canceling oil contracts with Maduro loyalists and family
mm,
members. She is firing top Maduro generals. She's basically acting as a puppet for all the wishes of this administration.
right.
And I think that was a pretty gross underestimation as far as what would be happening in Iran. And by the way, the regime hasn't changed in Iran. It's now
Hmm.
the guy's son. So, the former Secretary of Defense, Jim Mattis, was talking about this recently. It's exactly what you were saying, Anna, about the tactics of our US military have been outstanding. The problem is there is no strategy. And I think the real concern, what is terrifying about these videos to me, is that if you were really losing a war, would you be sending out these videos? It doesn't seem to me like you would.
Right. If you felt like
And
if you were on your
exactly.
heels, would you be
Yeah.
doing this? And so
Yeah.
yes, they're not on their heels.
And that to me, I think, is the larger issue here, is that this is a regime that feels very confident that whatever pain they are experiencing, they can endure longer than the Western cultures and the United States specifically can endure the pain caused from this oil crisis, B, high prices, C, closure of the Strait of Hormuz, et cetera, et cetera. And that is, I think, reading behind the lines of these videos that is giving me a lot of concern.
You just made me think of something like the Iranian government doesn't really care about its people. They voluntarily shot tens of thousands of protesters in the streets. Thankfully, we live in a country still where that doesn't happen in mass like it does there. And I think that what is interesting about this is that they we're talking about this. We're trying to talk about this seriously because we
Right,
understand that this
right,
is a
right.
serious subject. But these videos are so unserious that it's making a little bit of a joke of the whole fact that we are literally at war with a country that maybe is not as powerful as the United States, but is sure as a hell more powerful than a lot of other countries and has a lot more support in the region than I think people would like to admit. And now we see with the Strait of Hormuz has a very specific strategic tool that can wreak havoc on everyone. The problem is that the American government does, to an extent, and at least should in an ideal world, care about its people. And so when we are struggling economically, when there's an oil crisis that's affecting us, this isn't a joke. But Iran is starting to create this vibe of this whole thing with these videos that, like, oh, look at Trump. It's all a ruse. It's all him just being stupid. And it's like, you have to take a step back and realize as an American that, like, no, this is real, right? The Iranian government doesn't care if the Iranian people for their well being, but the American government by and large does. And I think that is what's so scary about kind of gamifying war like this and poking fun at foreign policy like this is that it takes the seriousness out of the situation that is very serious.
Well, and I think it's also it's them laughing, right? And that is a high concern to me. I mean, when you look at recent conflicts and wars that we've been in, you didn't see the Iraqi people or the Iraqi military under Saddam during the Iraq War laughing at the U.S. military. You didn't see the Taliban laughing at the U.S. military. Like this is not good,
Hmm.
and I think that what is very startling to me is the savvy that they have launched this propaganda campaign with in terms of knowing exactly what is going to break through, what is going to get under Trump's skin. There's no question he's seeing these videos. There's no question that this is like making him crazy. And it to see them now, we've obviously heretofore seen a lot of these videos commenting on the war in Iran, but now to see it go into this realm with Kash Patel, I think is a very interesting turn. And I'm curious, what do you think? What do you make of that? In that now this propaganda stuff is starting to wade into domestic policy versus the Iran war in general.
I mean, I think what a lot of people probably don't realize, and I think a lot of people who maybe work in the administration, like everyone is now looked at with a magnifying glass.
Mhm.
Like all of these departments, everyone has an eye on you now, and your life is public. The fact that I think we're doing this episode when Kash Patel is now suing the Atlantic for $250 million. I'm like, what? Hey, bro,
And
like
and
you're a public figure. Like
suing
this
the
is what you
Atlantic.
signed. Yeah.
Tell
Sorry, go
tell
ahead.
us what is the cause of the lawsuit, just so people
The
have context.
defamation of character related to them talking about him being an alcoholic on the
Yeah,
job.
so that they released a sort of bombshell report over the weekend that had a lot of corroborated reporting about him being frankly MIA as FBI director, and so
Which is,
that's
by the
the
way, in all of these Lego,
yeah
Right.
clips as
right.
well, is him like with tons of bottles of beer all around him.
Well, I think
So
it goes into this idea of like nothing is being the most serious things that we all face are not being taken seriously. And we're being fed these videos, which we can logically understand are coming from an adversarial government. But when you watch it, you still laugh, right? And that I
Right.
think is when you ask about domestic politics, it's like none of us we're being told to not take this stuff seriously over and over and over again. And this is just like a real sort of the most like emblematic symbol of that. But I think that's what becomes very scary is
Let
that
me
it all
ask you.
becomes a joke.
Let me ask you a question. So we've obviously got this. We're calling these slopaganda,
Mhm.
right? So I'm thinking in terms of okay, we now have a culture that consumes news very differently, right? These are the kinds of things. These videos are what are designed to break through on social media, to go viral, to catch that algorithm that will push it onto people. And for a lot of people, this is maybe how they're going to learn about things because they're not learning about it from the New York
Mhm.
Times.com or CNN or BBC or what have you. My question to you guys is, do you think that there is a wave coming of slopaganda for that's such a silly term, but that politicians in this country are going to start to deploy more actively in elections and campaigns to try and catch that viral wave and reach voters in a way that they aren't
Yes.
previously.
totally.
Yeah.
And if you're
Yes. And I
not,
think
you're
it's
going to be
very
left
dangerous.
behind. Yeah, I agree with Hannah.
And do you think that because I agree with you, I think this is maybe the next frontier of uh, political campaign advertising. But I'm curious. Do you think that and obviously this is an impossible question to answer, but do you think that that kind of targeting, that kind of messaging is going to sway voters, right? Like if you're a voter and you see a really funny video, take the Iran piece out of it for a sec. Let's say this, the Kash Patel video was launched by a Democrat who was, trying to make a case for, hey, we need to, vote for me because I'm going to hold these people accountable or whatever it is. Like, do you think that's going to start to move people?
I think that will, but not as directly as maybe you're asking. Like, I don't know that, an undecided voter is going to see a Slopaganda video from like a congressional candidate in Michigan and be like, oh, I'm definitely going to vote for them because they posted this, cartoon video of their opponent, like, taking a shit in the bottom of the ocean or whatever. And like, that would be my Slopaganda video.
That's good.
But
That's good.
I think that there's a more insidious thing to it where I think it will change voters' minds, which is that people will take the actual things that elections should be decided on, which is the character of the candidate and the policies of the candidate, much less seriously. And candidates can start to build a culture of humor, and it's what Trump has done, right? Like, people like his bravado. People don't care that he says shit that's inappropriate. Like, it's just who he is. It's taking that a step further. And it's, to Anthony's point earlier, Trump has those things in spades just naturally. I would say 75% of politicians don't. And so this is breaking down the barrier where suddenly, Mr. like wet blanket from Arkansas or whatever can suddenly like deploy these videos and create this idea of kind of like humor and fun. I would say the same thing about what people want from Mondami, right? He's got like the Riz. They want that kind of a vibe. And this is giving a tool where candidates can try to like cultivate that sort of like coolness and bravado and like Riz and blah, 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 that then can impact voters. So I don't think it's like a one thing in a video is going to change a voter's mind, but I think a smart campaign will then be able to cultivate a kind of culture that could really change people's minds in a way that I think is really disingenuous and really harmful to our political system.
I don't think we've ever had anyone from Arkansas on our.
Well, that's why I said it. I didn't want people to think I was talking about someone specific.
By the way, we love Arkansas.
You threw that state under. Yeah.
No, you know what? I have a lot of connections to Arkansas. My sister's boyfriend from Arkansas. Billy has family in Arkansas.
Okay.
This is with Arkansas.
End of list. Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Great.
I will say, I think the other thing, though, that it will get people talking, because when some people have like seen these videos, they're like, wait, like, did that actually happen? Like, why are they talking about people making trades on the stock market? And you're like, oh, well, like, because insiders are trading off of his tweets.
Does it actually create something where people,
other than saying, oh, this is just fake news, where you're like, it's not really fake news.
Is the flip side that it starts a conversation about these political topics that maybe otherwise wouldn't have been started? I don't know.
And that's the whole reason why we started Political Playlists.
Yes.
Let me ask you a question before we go. What do you make
I feel like I'm being interviewed. I love it.
What do you make of YouTube banning these? Does that feel like, censorship, speech interference? Obviously, the case to be made that these are being generated by a country we're at war with. How do you look at that issue?
I don't know. I mean, I think that these companies have bylaws, and I actually do think YouTube has some of the stricter bylaws when it comes to like violence and what people might call like limiting of free speech. But I do think that YouTube is the company that has the most stringent regulations around what can and can't be shown. So I think that as long as a company is adhering to its existing bylaws and rules of engagement, then I don't think that it's censorship. I think that if they were like, we're changing everything and not going to have these videos, but I think YouTube is being known for the most kind of hard line when it comes to anything that could be perceived as like promoting of violence and stuff like that, which these obviously are in their own way.
Yeah. And it was funny. There wasn't like a huge statement by YouTube on this either. They just kind of did it. And I think this is when explosive media kind of like got out there, and they like tweeted like, seriously, are our Lego style animations actually violent? In a land that proudly hosts Pixar, DreamWorks Animation, the Walt Disney Company, and an independent animated YouTube channel,
Interesting.
which originally grew out of depicting U.S. aggression and warmongering and garnered millions of viewers, was abruptly shut down. Why? So pretty which is kind of, I'm with them on this.
I don't know. I mean, I'm
right?
sure the YouTube lawyers are like, yeah, no, we're good.
Yeah. They're like, we don't need to comment on this.
Yeah,
They're
like,
they cross their T's and dot
they're
their
like,
I's.
I got
for
explosive diarrhea. I don't need explosive media.
Mr.
right now."
Explosive, get off my back.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, I don't know.
Crazy
People
stuff.
keep
More Legos to come.
well, there will be more Legos to come, and if you see them, send them to us, and we'll comment on them because you
Yeah.
know it's not like we're at war or anything.